So,
I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Avacha told me, "Hey, it's like San Francisco's oldest open mic," and I was like, "Oh my god!"
yeah, she told me about you, and I thought, oh boy, we'll do that. I take her seriously.
Yeah, totally. Me too.
All right.
Well, thanks for inviting me again. I'm gonna read a mix, actually. Um, the my most recent book, I put it in the chat in case people want to get it, and I'm gonna be reading one poem from here. It's called The Broken Woman Diaries, and I have the ones you read in the bio. Actually, it's kind of funny because one of those never made it, so I ended up, instead of that one, the one that did make it is called Stillness in the Land of Speed, and is going to be out in December. So if anybody is interested, I'll also put the information of my new publisher in North Carolina, which is called Jakar Press, for that one. But the one that's still available is The Broken Woman Diaries, and won an award recently, so I'm gonna promote that one. So I brought one from my latest book. It's called Family Disidentification Techniques, and I think, a little bit to go with the mood that I heard in the open mic, and I think we're all experiencing a lot of loss and rage. And well, for me as a diasporic person from Mexico City, coming to terms with so many different kinds of political issues includes writing about my own diasporic process. And so I'm going to start with one about family to set us off. It's called Family Disidentification Techniques, Strategies. Something about the way he held his hand and cocked his head reminded me of someone in my family. Well, how would I know? I fled from them at 18, left the neighborhood, the state, the country. I kept my address secret, lived in disguise. I was happy in exile, dating men that least resembled those I had known. Nothing reminded me of home. I hated home and the notion of home. The nosy Mexican family wanted to know everything about your love life, especially if you were a girl who didn't follow the rules, despised loud and uncouth uncles making sexist jokes, catty aunts pitying your starved figure if you happened to be lean, shaming your fat gut if it happened to protrude. I developed obscure intellectual habits so my cousins would think I was a weird geek and wouldn't talk to me. I managed to become something they scorned. I became unknowable, disguised my name on Facebook, succeeded in disappearing from everyone's sight. And then I saw a picture of two human cubs that looked like me at that age. That was strange, because I thought no one looked like me in that country. After all, that's why I fled. I wanted to be a unicorn among the horses, a needle in the haystack. Anyway, you get it. For all my traveling and identity tricks, I was still someone's aunt, a cousin, a niece. And here they were now, living in the same town where I'd happened to find a job, even a home. I sighed, shaking my head, and yet something about him, about my cousin, reminded me of myself. The way I had tried to fit in this country where nobody fit in, and yet where so many of us lived. I had wanted to be reborn, naked, cut off from the universe with no bloodlines or sticky umbilical cords reaching out into the atmosphere. And yet, I had come here to find people like them, like my uncouth family of truck drivers and restaurant cooks that snubbed people with books because they thought they were so different when they weren't. They truly weren't. I know I wasn't. And then I'm gonna thanks. Switch into sea poems. I don't know why I always end up doing that. This one actually, I'm celebrating that this one was nominated yesterday to push cart, and I was like, oh my god, okay, I'm gonna write more about seashells. So it's called Seashell Harvest, and it's published in this anthology that's available in New York called Arriving at Shoreline. I'm gonna show it to you guys. It's got a bunch of posts from the East Coast. I don't live, full disclosure, because you mentioned that in my bio, I don't live in Jersey anymore. But that's fine. I did once, and I went to the ocean as much as I could. So this one's called Seashell Harvest. You turn them around to see their perfectly creased backs, your shirt bulging with seashells, cowries, conchs, cockles, sea urchin domes whitened by the glaring sun. You like how they're picked clean. Only the skeleton remains. Your hand runs up and down the cracks carved by stones and waves bashing them into each other. Who were these, you wonder? Who will record the roughened textures and ruptured skeletons lying exposed upon the shore? Someone has to piece the story together. Restored the battered bones of the earth, the soft flesh of mollusks and crabs. In the sun, you're a black silhouette, a farmer harvesting at dusk, bending down to pick crops of a washed out day. A wavering figure, sifting through sand fields in search of talismans and treasures among the harvest of the seas. Thanks. And then the next one is, these are unpublished, very recent, and also about the ocean. Okay, let's see. This one's called The Woman Who Followed the River. She turned in her bed, following him stir. The perfect purple jar trembled in the kitchen, as if his dream brought in the summer rain. And she thought of how that sound had always soothed her little girls who fell asleep at the slightest sound of water pattering in the balcony, till morning came knocking softly at their door. She had once lived with a river in her backyard. She followed him across the muddy tracks deer had left there for her to follow. Some nights among the reeds, she waited for the frogs to start their chorus, swollen bells, pining for the spring. The windsurfer. And this is kind of a tandem, these two go together. I don't know why. Oh, because my dad used to be a windsurfer. He too had been dreaming of the ocean, a seaweed smell he woke up with at times, nostrils absolved from any memories of earth, to be reborn naked and swallowed by sand. No whiny voices to wake him in the mornings and beg to play in sea urchin-covered tide pools, carrying them over the blue shoulder of time, barefoot and humming the tune of the incoming waves, bursting into their field of vision, their brimming eyes eclipsed by foam, their screaming glee propelling their father out into the whitest surf. Beyond the human gaze where white sails swelled with the western wind. Okay, this one is fragments, so they're like really short They're even shorter than your haikus, Dan. So think that each one's a unit in itself. Fragments after Sappho, the Moonweaver's dialogue. And here I am at the onset of my haunting. 500 years from now, nothing will be known of us, except perhaps a fragment. Never too early for a love to come too late. A love that comes not from possession, but from dispossession. La rabia intacta de mis 20 años. And only fear to guide my footsteps. For years, I had been resisting that joy, the enlightened walking upon the earth. Harness your dolphin body to my pelvis. Disease and madness courting you since then. Dreamy iris, give me your water. Melt, heart. There is no end to this melting. No way to live in the imagination without pain. No tenderness will live among these names. That I would have believed love to be a habit. Go back to where I left myself behind. Took me back to the broken reality of violence, of what we were together. Dusk was another face of hush. Faces shaded as we were from moonlight. I am the woman who followed the river and loved the meandering of her lust. Okay, more ocean. I'm looking for more. I have more. Okay, this one's called Bone Memory, and it's written after a poet I really like called Aquila Oliver, who loves writing about the erotic. So there's this epigraph saying what the body remembers. It was not that complicated. The history, divisions, cut up, intrigues, flesh dialogues, Aquila Oliver. Bone Memory. The laws of unmet symphony can always be properly followed. We shared a sweaty car as we drove down nocturnal highway at the edge of dawn, pursued of the thought of the Iliad and the rosy fingers of dawn while I held his callous hands in mine, a comparable density. Finger shores at the edge of wonder, ablution and marred by daffodils. The crater was small enough to hold us. What we had been enveloped in magma, only the ruins of Pompeii could remember, capacious as a ride retracting into flesh memory. I think that similar things keep us awake at the edge of morning. All you could hold into has been hammered away into the night. Soothe rings true, reborn by a gauze touch. Ache me a season I can actually summon. Talk to me like your palms open the grass. You made room for petty illuminations, but your room kept on encroaching upon the territory of dream. The non-linear language of desire. You stared at me like a fawn piercing the young darkness. To destroy something with my love. So much has been learned from hurricanes. Enter the current we turn on with our laughter. The beat of your mother's island drum. Gas of seaweed. Cling to my bone memory. Touch the lids of my eyes. Once, while walking in sand, you picked up a cowrie shell from the seashore. Brought it back to me like a lost thorn I saved to prick my heart. Eyes redolent of so many mornings. I believe we never made that trip. But in your arms, I almost smelled the ocean. See me. See through me. Seesaw ship rocking into the holy headwaters of brine open, the marrow shudder. Portal me into your wet room, showed me your goldfish and your windowed cacti, the rock collection you never threw away, the ceiling full of planet stickers growing in the full moon. I wonder if you too absorbed her light. Walking through the woods at dusk, we wait for our eyes to adjust. Now I can see you clearer than before. My hands are full of memory. I am afraid of what they hold. Your soft palms a scream peeling down the street of my naked stock, my awakened cunt gasping for more air. Where to hold this lust lit up like a lotus, right as you dream on, leap on through nipple smoke danger, hook of an ember storyline of excess and lofty laws and offering, leaping into the void. All night we dreamed away into our body.
3 minutes.
Cool, thank you.
David, let the dramatic pause at the end.
Okay.
Let us soak it in.
Sorry.
And this final one is called Moonfisher. It's got an epigraph by a Mexican poet called Jose Gorostiza. Cuando se mira los faroles rojos en la orilla del mar, mi pescador, el de profundos ojos, pone sus negras redes a pescar. Moonfisher. Sueño con tu país como si soñara con una piel más antigua que el vientre de mi madre. But it's not the skin I dream. Just the idea of the skin sliding through my fingertips, borders like undone ribbons, loosening and shifting until their liquid nature claims terrain. No sueño contigo. I dream a common dream, the friction of two snake skins molting into the same stone, the heat of the heaving island as it slides into the tectonic depths, couching the sandy waters seeping under the warming tide. As a child, I would pretend to drown so the sea would claim me, una sirena atrapada por un pescador. Amárrame, I would tell him. Tie me to your mast so the sun may bleach my bones, become a coral. Wind me in your tight net, drape me until my scales become human. Devuélveme, throw me back into the ocean where I belong, where only the tendrils of other fish may wrap around me. Undo this wet dream, unweave this warm web of smooth skin, frotándome until life, flotándome on the surface of my watery bower, where everything I touch becomes quicksilver, moon water. Thanks for having me.
Unmute, ladies and gentlemen, and let her know. Wow. Beautiful.
Hey!
Hey,
Great finish. Very nice.
Wow.